It is time for your WIN podcast for super busy professionals sharing transformational moments. Your host, Chu Tang.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Win podcast. Today, I have my very special friend, Stephen Flo, with us. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you, Chu. This is a real honor for me. I really appreciate connecting with you and being able to chat with you today.
Thank you, Stephen. So, Stephen, would you describe a scene in your life where you experienced a transformational moment that changed your life forever?
Oh, absolutely. I would like to do that. I was a pastor at Grace Lutheran Church in DeSoto, Missouri for 30 years. And I've never struggled with any major health problems, never sick, never depressed, never any emotional or mental or physical problems. And then one day I was in my kitchen and I thought, oh, look at that pretty sunset outside. So I stepped outside on my deck and I took a picture with my iPhone of the beautiful sunset. And I almost fainted. And I thought, what was that? I thought, well, maybe I got up too quickly. So then I went back into the kitchen and my heart started to flutter really crazy, went out of, like an AFib or palpitations that were uncontrollable. And I thought, what is that? And it lasted for a few, maybe a minute. And then I sat down and I thought, well, I better call my son. He's a doctor. So I called my son and I told him, hey, Dr. John, I said, my heart seems to be going out of order here. I don't know what's happening. I've almost fainted a couple times now. And he said, boy, that's terrible. You better get to the hospital as quickly as you can. And of course, I thought, well, I can't go to the hospital. I haven't taken a shower and my hair is greasy. I've got to take a shower first. And he said, no, Dad, get to the hospital. So my daughter was there, Kari, and I should have called 911 actually, but I wasn't thinking. And Kari said, come on, Dad, let's go. So we hopped in the car and she hauled me over there, and I was having more episodes as I was going of my heart kind of beating very rapidly and out of sync. And then I would almost faint, and then that would stop, and it would happen every 5-10 minutes. Got to the hospital, they hitched me up. They called a code blue because they were pretty concerned about me. The doctor came to me and said, hey, this is serious, if you go under or go unconscious, we may not bring you back. This is a serious, very serious issue. And I later found out, as they were looking on the screen, all the big loops that they were seeing whenever my heart would kind of go into these palpitations, they called those tombstones, because the kind I was having usually kills you. It was a ventricular tachycardia. That's what they call a ventricular. It's the kind of thing that kills athletes when they're out there in the football field or out in the soccer field, and all of a sudden they drop dead. A ventricular tachycardia. And anyway, long story short, I was there, and then they sent me to another hospital to have an ablation. That's where they go up through the groin into an artery, and then they cauterize the heart. There's certain nerves that they want to deaden so that so the heart will not be beating so irregularly, and try to get it under control. And it worked. But here's the crazy thing. After that surgery, which was successful, I became that the next few weeks I should have been healed up and go back to work, kind of routine. It's not an unusual thing. And what happened to me is, though, I went into a kind of a depression, which I've never experienced before. And then the next month after that, I went into a deeper depression, and it was just absolutely overwhelming. I couldn't go back to work. And I just felt like I was being crushed to death, as though I were like 200 feet underwater and just being crushed. And I felt like there was a band around my head, an iron band that was crushing my head with a really like a headache. It was just kind of squeezing me. I felt like as I was walking down the street or anywhere, I felt like I was at about a 45-degree angle. I felt off balance. And it was just not only so that I was not only emotionally overwhelmed and feeling like I couldn't talk to anybody, couldn't go outside, couldn't go look out the window, couldn't have light coming through the window, couldn't have the TV on, couldn't get in the car. Everything was just becoming so incredibly overwhelming. And this went on for almost 2 years. And and so we would go from doctor to doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, endocrinologist, cardiologist. We just went from one doctor to the next. And most of the time, they, for depression or whatever, they'll give you SSRIs or some kind of a drug, for depression. but I don't do well with any kind of medication.
Mm.
So I didn't do well with that. And it was just so excruciating. Never experienced anything like this. Nobody really knew what to do with me. I even went to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, one of the greatest hospitals in the world.
Right.
And I went to see an endocrinologist, and I went to see a neurologist and a psychiatrist. They didn't really know. They were just guessing. The psychiatrist said, in all my years of practice, 5 years, I've never seen anybody experience what you're experiencing. Your story is totally unique. I've never heard anybody have a story like you. Totally normal. Everything's fine. Ventricular tachycardia, have an ablation, then come out and your life turns upside down like this.
Oh.
So they didn't have any answers. They said just all they could offer were drugs. And so I go back home, and I kind of felt by this time I was not expecting any doctors to help me because I'd been through so many. And each one was a failure. But I tell you what, the thing that saved my life was my wife. She wouldn't give up, Kimberly, and she's such a sweetheart. And she just wouldn't give up. She kept taking me to more and more doctors, and which I knew weren't going to help me at all. But finally, one psychiatrist said, "Well, you know what? You've been through so much, and so many doctors have tried to help you, and I only have certain kind of drugs. They don't seem to help you. I really can't help you." I loved his honesty. He said, "But so I don't think there's any reason for you to come back to me. But have you ever tried? I had heard about electroshock therapy, and that's kind of a last resort. But before that, he said, before trying that, he said, there's a thing called TMS, TMS, Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation, TMS, and it's a method where they put a some kind of a gadget on your head, and they just kind of shoot a beam of magnetism to a very, very specific spot in your brain. And they calibrate it so it goes to a very, very specific spot, and they shoot a beam there, and they do that for 20 minutes for 36 sessions. So 5 days a week for 20 minutes a day. And it wasn't very painful at all. I'm just not like, it was just a little tapping feeling on the head. That was supposed to stimulate the dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Somehow those chemicals had gotten depleted somehow through what I had gone through with my heart. I guess the heart and the head are connected more than people realize. Anyway, and I told the doctor my long story. He said he thought they could help. But I said, well, it's going to take a miracle because I just have had no success with anything else. And he says, well, I think we might have a little miracle for you around the corner. So I started that therapy. After the 5th treatment, I started feeling like all of this weight and this crushing feeling and this overwhelmed feeling and depressed feeling, everything started to lift. And by the end of the treatment, I was 100% healed without any drugs. No side effects, no withdrawal, 100% natural.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It is truly awesome. And I just couldn't believe it. I was so overwhelmed with happiness because I've been so suffering for so long, for over 20 months with such an excruciating thing. And I want to say one other thing too, that's a little a touchy subject, but I really want to touch on it. For anybody who's ever experienced family members who have been so depressed that they maybe thought about or maybe committed suicide, I want you to know I've survived through this, and I want you to know that what's going on there is when a person is suffering so much, they're not wanting to hurt themselves necessarily. They're not thinking about, suicide as something as they don't want to really hurt themselves. What they really want is to escape the pain they're in. That's all it is. They want to escape the pain they're in. And sometimes death is better than what the hell they're going through. That's what's going on in their mind. It'd be like if you were in a battle in World War II and you're under a tank and it's burning and you can't get out, and you've got a friend that's over there, and you would ask him, please shoot me, I'm burning to death. Or if there were a gun there, you'd probably shoot yourself because you're hurting so much. That's what people go through that are suffering with suicidal thoughts. They're suffering so badly that they're thinking of escape. And And they can't think of family. They can't think of anybody else. All they can think about is getting out of the pain they're in. That's what people go through when they're thinking suicide, because that's what happened to me. I was thinking those thoughts, and I finally understood it for the first time in my life. These are the kind of things that are hard to understand. Depression and things like that, and suicidal thoughts are really hard for anybody to understand unless you go through it, But that's what's happening. They're just so hurting. Anyway, that's a little thought just to share with people that
No, it's an
maybe have
important
suffered.
thought. It's an important thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like the family members were trying to be mean or to other people, or it wasn't that they were thoughtless of other people.
Not less.
It's just that they were just in so much severe pain. They just couldn't think
Yeah.
of anything else but of trying to escape the pain. That's what they were going through. So, and that's what I experienced. But anyway, I survived it. I went to the TMS and I was totally healed. And
Yeah, okay.
it's called Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation. And it's really something, if you know anybody that's suffering from acute depression.
Yeah.
Chronic depression is when you have depression maybe your whole life. Chronic meaning in Greek meaning time. And
Right.
and so chronic means over the long time,
Right.
Whereas acute depression is something that could have been caused by some event, some
Yeah.
hurtful event. Like me, it was a heart trauma. And that threw me into a depression and got my serotonin and my dopamine and all these chemicals that were they got off balance somehow. And I don't know. I don't think any doctor really understands this fully, but they're trying to understand it, and I think that they think there's a relation between the heart and the mind. And anyway, they got off balance, and I went through this terrible thing, but I came through, and the TMS saved me, and now it's been over almost going 3 years. Just no problems whatsoever. I'm back to normal, 100%. So thankful every single day, just to feel normal and just to feel like you want to get up in the morning and just move forward. It's the most wonderful thing, and to be thankful just for normalcy in life. Mundane normalcy is the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
So that's my story of what happened to me. And I want to be an encouragement to anybody out there who has struggled with depression, or if you know somebody who has struggled with depression. Now, there are light forms of depression, and you can just encourage people to go for walks, to eat right, to talk to people, and that will help that depression if it's a real light depression.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. If it's a deep, deep depression, if it's a deep depression like what I had, all these suggestions about eating right, getting exercise, all of those things are absolutely meaningless because they don't help you at all. There's it's too severe. When it's that severe, it's too severe.
Yeah.
You need something from the outside to fix it. Now, some people will take, again, SSRI, certain kind of depression medications, and that will help. That helps a lot of people. For me, it didn't, because it was just the medication made me sick, and I couldn't do well with it. So it's really wonderful to know that you can actually get healed of depression or be helped by a technique like this thing called transcranial magnetic stimulation, because there's no drugs, no withdrawal, no side effects. And for me, I was totally healed. So I really, really want to share that with your followers, because I know depression is so rampant in society today. Your followers are going to know someone somewhere that needs to hear this word.
Yeah, no, I do. I know people, and actually my best friend's brother committed suicide because of depression.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Isn't that something? So and so the word of compassion there is, again, people that really go that far to commit suicide. They are hurting in a way that you can't fathom. And they are just wanting to escape the pain that they're in. And it's not like those that are victims of that, please don't feel guilty, like you should have done something, or you could have done something, or if you just got them to do this or that. No, the fact of the matter is, when you're that severely depressed that you want to end your life, you are hurting so deeply that you can't hardly hear anybody else and be concerned about anybody else's concerns. All you can think about is wanting to avoid or get out of the hell that you're presently living in, and you're thinking that on the other side it's got to be better than here. That's what they're thinking. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this insight.
Thank you. Yes. And just let people know there's hope. There's
Yes.
hope for them,
Thank you,
and
Kimberly.
this, yes, thank you, Kimberly. She never gave up on me. She just kept taking me until we found this doctor that could. And I traveled all over the country, all over St. Louis. I went to Mayo Clinic, and I went to Arizona to a clinic for 40 days, and went all over the place. And here I found that the healing for me was 15 minutes down the road at a local
Oh,
hospital. They had a little office that they set up, this TMS office, and that's where it was, and that's where I got
oh,
healed totally. So right
wow.
down the road, and for me, because I had been through so many psychiatrists and counselors and tried different drugs and they didn't work, my insurance company decided to pay for everything for me.
Oh, okay.
It's between $6,000 to $10,000 for this treatment, and they paid for it. Now, if some of your hearers or followers are uh, resonating with what I'm saying, and if they struggle with depression, or they know somebody who's struggling with depression, if they haven't had like 3 or 4 different drugs that they've tried and failed with counseling with a doctor and psychiatrist, if they haven't experienced that, their insurance company may not pay for it until they go through that process.
Okay.
And I kind of wish that the insurance companies would just go ahead and go through the pay for this, because it will avoid having to go through all these different drugs and doctors and stuff to prove that you really need it,
Yeah. But you say $6,000 to $10,000?
Yeah, $6,000 to $10,000. Yeah.
For the whole, for all the sessions, or for one session?
For all 20 or 32 sessions. Yeah.
Wow.
36 sessions.
I mean, to get your life back is worth it.
I would have given, I tell you, if I had known that this treatment was going to do what it did for me, but I had to give all my money to them, I would have given every penny. I would have given everything to get your life back. So really, that's nothing compared to what you get in return for this. Now, not everybody's healed totally. I guess there's some people that, again, their depression may be more chronic than it is acute. It might be a little harder nut to crack if it's chronic. But for me and for many others, there's a high ratio of success, and it's really worth it. And I'm so thankful to God that these kind of technologies, they're like miracles of modern science that are coming forward. And this is one of them. And I don't know if the pharmaceutical companies really want us to know much about it, because they don't make any money on this. They don't want healed people.
Because I think 6,000 or 10,000 is cheap, right?
There you go. Well,
compared to other things. Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, and it is really cheap.
I never heard of it until I met you. So so thank you so much.
Isn't that something?
For spreading.
It's becoming more of a advertised on television, and I think I was listening to somebody told me they were listening to Good Morning America or some kind of program on TV. Then they were talking about this new thing called TMS. Well, it's been around for 20 years maybe, but in America, maybe in the last 5-10 years, it's getting a hold in America. But and they're getting more refined with it. Their instruments they use are becoming more precise, and they're now, some people don't have to go through 36 treatments. That'd be 5 days a week, 5 days a week for 36 treatments. Some are now staying there for the whole day and just going through like maybe 5 or 6 or 7 treatments a day, and doing that for 4 or 5 days or something, and then they're done.
I learned about dopamine. It's a very important hormone. It's a happy hormone, and then it's also linked to people who has a Parkinson's disease.
Oh, Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, as a matter of fact, this treatment is also good for PTSD, OCD. It also helps for OCD. It also helps people with cigarette addictions and other kind of addictions. It helps them because it stimulates the brain, so it gets those chemicals to get back to normal, so that the brain don't have to take other things or other drugs. Also, Parkinson's is one of those too that they're thinking they may be able to have some success with.
Okay. Because I read an article about the link between the two hormones.
Yes.
I mean the dopamine and serotonin too. So all that.
Yes.
Because
so they're making some great strides and discoveries with the brain, and how there are electrical components to it and the circuitry going on, and
Mm-hmm.
there's these synapses it's like a electrical through the synapses, then it's chemical between the synapses, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
electrical along to the next one. And so
Yeah.
there's such a complex thing going on there, but
Yeah.
it has a lot to do with what happens with those chemicals of dopamine and so on, plus the electrical part. So that's why the magnetic part of it comes into play.
Right. Oh, I'm so grateful for whoever invented this.
Oh, I asked them, I said, how in the world did you come up with this incredible technology?
Is it invented in US?
I'm not sure if it was
Oh.
here or not. I do know they said whoever they must have told me, but I can't remember. But they said they saw how let's see, magnetic bracelets or
Yeah,
other
yeah,
kind
the
of
one people
magnetic
wear for
jewelry.
arthritis. Yes.
Yes, they said they were finding that people were having success with that. It was actually getting rid of their arthritis. And because of that, they thought, well, that's amazing. Maybe what would happen if we took an electronic beam, a magnetic beam,
Yes.
and shot that into the brain in certain spots? And lo and behold, they started realizing it was healing people.
Wow, interesting.
So that's where that came from. They're just watching people.
Yeah, because when you mentioned about that, I thought about the bracelet, the magnetic bracelets. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So I'm just so thankful, so thankful. Now I'm able to live again, and we've been traveling like crazy, and that's how we met you. We were traveling. We met you at the Canyon de Chelly, I think it was.
Canyon de Chelly, yes, yes.
Yes.
I think it's God's plan, right? Because we were leaving.
Yes.
And then Wayne, my husband, was talking to me. I said, what's going on? And then we saw each other again. And so I said again in breakfast the next day.
Yes. Yes. It was really a joy meeting you. And we were just really enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing the transformational story. That's very unique.
It is. It's an amazing thing. And I just want to give anybody, people hope out there that are going through depression. And if anybody ever wants to call me or to text me or email me, if they have questions about it, I'll be glad to do that. Should I give you my phone number? Is that okay? Or
yeah, I'll share that. I'll share that when I post it online. Yes.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes. But so good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. And so if you guys like this episode, come back, and until then, stay happy and hopeful.
Happy and hopeful, absolutely. God bless you, lady. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share. See you soon at Your Win Podcast.